Top of the morning to you. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope you're doing well. Now, I'm excited to say I am back at Penrith for Collector Con, the first big toy and collectibles fair that I've been able to go to for like the best part of a year now, probably about 10 months or so, and I couldn't be happier to be back out on the hunt. If I'm perfectly honest, I'm a tad hungover today. I'm sorry if my voice is a tad rough, and it's a little bit of a late start as well. I was planning on getting here like a good half an hour before doors open so I could get in the line and be among the first people through the door, or the first group of people through the door. I know people get here early and queue up. A little bit of a late start. It's like 5 after 9 now, so unfortunately the event's kicked off, and it's obviously really busy because I've had to park quite away from the event. So not an ideal start, but like I said, the first big event in the best part of a year thanks to COVID. So it's going to take more than a slight hangover and a bit of a walk and a bit of a late start to keep me from it. It's big. There's like 3 different halls, 300 tables or so. So a really cool event that I'm looking forward to. I'm going to get in there, see what I can find, and then we'll meet back in the collection room and I'll take you through my pickups. As you can see, Collector Con is the place to be if you're a Star Wars collector. But this next table is a little bit more my speed. We've got Kenner's Real Ghostbusters, we got some Mighty Max, we got a Street Shark, and just a table overflowing with vintage nostalgic goodness. So much cool stuff to see here spilling over that table. But back to these Real Ghostbusters figures. I had a good look at that Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Didn't pull the trigger on that, and also that Gremlins VHS. That's awesome. I did pick up a Ghostbusters item from this table, which we'll look at in the pickups. And how about this My Pet Monster? I love these items. It's awesome to see one in the flesh. Very, very cool. And speaking of monsters, how about these Boglins I saw? I love these more modern boxed Boglins, and also these vintage guys as well. I had a good look at the vintage Boglins. They looked awesome. They felt a little bit like they were decomposing. There they are again. So one day I want to get some vintage Boglins in my collection. Collector Con wasn't my day for those though. Now we're talking. Nothing like rifling through a tub of just mixed vintage TMNT. There's one that I need. We might see that one a little bit closer in the pickups. Love me some storage shell turtles. So cool. And just digging through these tubs is one of my favorite things to do at shows. It's not about what's on the tables all the time, it's about what's on the floor as well. And what's better than loose, incomplete vintage TMNT in a tub? A wall of complete or near complete vintage Ninja Turtles action figures. Some really cool figures here, and happy to say that one or two you might be seeing in the pickup section of this video. And here's another table that I love. This vendor is always at these shows. We'll get a bit of a look at his business card in just a moment. Love that Chuck Norris carded Karate Commandos figure. Some awesome carded vintage TMNT goodness. Barnyard Commandos. Pirates of Darkwater. So much cool stuff to look at on this table. As you guys know, I'm a loose figure collector, but I love looking at the beautiful card art on these items, and there's that seller's details. And how about this? Underneath what I assume is just a bootleg or KO thumb wrestlers set, we've got something really cool. We've got on-card Savage Mondo Blitzers. So weird, so wacky, but definitely right up my alley. And not just vintage action figures and vintage toy lines to be found at Collector Con. Plenty of modern collectibles and retro-inspired modern releases like the Kenner Classics there. Obviously Marvel Legends, Star Wars Black Series. We've got some modern horror figs there. Plenty of cool stuff to see. Plenty for all tastes and all types of collectors. Oh, I love seeing that vintage TMNT Pizza Power board game. I can't believe I didn't spot that until just now when I'm watching this footage back. That's crazy. I want to get that one of these days. And another thing I want to get one of these days is a boxed Sega Master System 2. That version right there with Alex Kidd, the built-in Alex Kidd in Miracle World. That was my first console, and it was really cool to see it complete in box, and really cool to see plenty of other retro gaming. We got some complete cartridge-based games, Super Nintendo, 64, and then we got some loose items here, some loose Game Boys and Nintendo Game & Watch, and then some awesome little kind of console and game packs here, like starter packs. Very cool to see as well. Love seeing a bit of retro gaming at the Toy Fair. Alrighty, we are back in the collection room after Collector Con Penrith, and the event was just as awesome as anticipated. Really big event, like I mentioned, 3 different halls, 300 or so tables, and a really good variety of items. Vintage action figures, modern collectibles, trading cards, comics, retro video games, tons of good stuff, and just a lot to see and a lot to take in. It was actually kind of overwhelming at times because it has been a while since I've been to an event quite that big. A really good crowd of people, but quite a busy event, which made filming pretty difficult at times. So I really don't think that I would have been able to do justice to just how cool the event was in terms of the footage that I was able to capture, because a lot of the tables were quite busy. But in any case, I hope you enjoyed getting a little bit of a look at some of the key things that were there to see at the show. And yeah, awesome people as well, like really good vendors as always. It was great to catch up with some familiar faces, and it was great to meet some new people as well. And I'll talk about some of the people that I met in just a moment. But first things first, let's rip into the pickups And I'm gonna kick things off with a banger. Probably my favourite thing that I picked up at the show. And this is an item that I actually spotted on Collector Con's Facebook group. I think it's called Collector Con Community. And the organisers from the show posted some photos of some of the different booths that were already there set up. I spotted this item. And like I mentioned, I was a little bit late getting through the door. And I was hoping that it hadn't been snapped up. And luckily for me, it hadn't. And I'm talking about this beautiful vintage Real Ghostbusters lunchbox. Unfortunately, no thermos, which is a little bit disappointing, but that's all right. Even though I didn't have the thermos, I was still going to jump all over this. Beautiful artwork. The sticker is in really nice condition. I mean, the whole lunchbox itself, it's in really good shape. And, you know, I'm not going all out to just collect any different kind of 80s and early 90s lunchboxes, but I really would like to try and pick up a lunchbox from each of the key vintage action figure lines that I collect. So behind me, you might see a Jurassic Park one that I picked up previously at a Collector Con event. Now that I've got the Real Ghostbusters one, I'm mainly on the hunt for a vintage Ninja Turtles lunchbox. I'd love to get a wrestling lunchbox from the late 80s or early 90s. Toxic Crusaders lunchbox would be awesome. Crash Dummies lunchbox would be awesome. So if I can pick up, over the course of however long it takes, if I can get my hands on one from each of those toy lines just to display along with these figures, that'll be awesome. Now, one of the things that I love most at these types of collector fairs is just like digging through bins of loose action figures, like $1 bins, $2 bins, $5 bins, these sorts of things. And I've got a couple of beauties in a $5 bin, so two $5 loose action figures, and they're actually Dick Tracy figures. I've not picked up anything Dick Tracy for quite a while now, so we've got a loose Dick Tracy figure. And like I mentioned before, this is a Playmates toy line from 1990 or 1991. I think 1990. I think the film came out in 1990 and these figures came out shortly thereafter. So we've got a loose Dick Tracy figure. I do have this figure on card, but as you can see behind me, for the most part, I'm a loose action figure collector. So seeing this guy in really nice condition, nowhere near as yellowed as I often see him, I thought for $5 we'll add him to the collection. And to go with the Dick, we've got this flat top figure. This is a figure from the toy line that I don't really see too often. Like, you see Dick Tracy figures all the time. The Tramp, I see that figure all the time. Flat top, not so much. So again, really happy to have flat top in the collection. A little bit of paint wear, but that's all right. Still in nice enough condition to display along with the rest of my loose Dick Tracy figures just down here behind me. So that's another fun addition to the collection. Alrighty, next up, I picked up a figure lot, like a bulk figure lot for $25 that I couldn't not pick up, and I'm talking about this kind of mixed lot of Australian Gladiators figures. Now, I picked up a bulk lot of Australian Gladiators figures from eBay a few months back, and they didn't come with any accessories, but they were really cheap, and I'd never seen them before. In fact, I'd actually never heard of Australian Gladiators figures. I didn't even know a toy line came out with them. Now, back in the mid-90s, I want to say 1995, that's when we had a couple of seasons of the Australian version of Gladiators, just like American Gladiators or the UK version. And I love the show because when the Gladiators show came to our TV screens here in Australia, I was really into wrestling. I was into the WWF. And to me, the Gladiators were kind of an extension of that. Like, you had these big hulked up guys, and they cut promos on one another, and it was just a lot of fun, and it kind of appealed to me in the same way that wrestling did at the time. So when I saw this figure lot for $25, the thought kind of occurred to me to try and maybe negotiate, but there's 7 figures in here. It's like $3.50 a figure, and they've got accessories. So I just thought, why not pick that up? So we'll just go through them quickly. First up, we've got a figure based on one of my favorite of the Gladiators, and that's Vulcan. Now, a couple of things that are kind of interesting to me about this figure line, the scale is really weird. To compare it to a Dick Tracy figure, which is about the same size as a vintage Turtles figure, obviously the Dick Tracy figure dwarfs this Australian Gladiator, so they're a really small scale. And the other thing is they look absolutely nothing like the characters that they're supposed to be based on. And from what I understand, these are just straight repaints of the English Gladiators figures. So first up, we've got Vulcan. We've got Contestant, Blue Contestant. Now, in terms of the Gladiators figures that I've seen, I've only seen a blue contestant, and looking at these accessories, there's some red accessories here as well, so I'm not sure if there was a red contestant as well, or if there was just one contestant figure. So we've got one of the contestants here. We've got Hammer with his dueling stick thing there. Another contestant. Another one of my favourites, Taipan. This guy used to dominate on the rings. Another contestant figure. And last of all, we've got Cougar. Now, looking at these figures, they are in pretty ordinary shape. Like, for instance, you'll see on Vulcan a lot of paint wear on the back there, but the main reason I picked these up was for the accessories, because like I mentioned, I picked up a figure lot of the Australian Gladiators figures on eBay a few months back, and they didn't come with any accessories, but the figures themselves were in really good condition, and they look like they saw no play back in the day. So I'll most likely just move these accessories over with the other Gladiators figures that I've got, and then at least, you know, they'll display nicer with the accessories. So still really happy to have like 7 vintage Gladiators figures for 25 bucks. They were released by a company called Krona here. I think Krona was essentially like a distributor that distributed Tyco figures here in Australia. So maybe the UK Gladiators figures that these are based on were released by Tyco in UK. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm still pretty happy to have those Gladiators figures in the collection. Alrighty, sticking with vintage action figures, I've got a few figures here that I picked up from a vendor named Tony B. Tony B is a dude. He always looks after me on price. He bundles stuff up for me and just gives me crazy deals. I bought stuff from him through Facebook before, so it's always good to catch up with guys like Tony B at Collector Con. First up, we've got another Bucky O'Hare figure for the collection. This is the Toad Air Marshal, another one that I've needed for the collection. I got a really good price on this. The figure's in really nice condition, not quite complete. We've got his gun here. He's just missing, I believe he's just missing a hat accessory that plugs into that peg hole there, because I don't know Bucky O'Hare super well. It's a line that I'm pretty new to, but just looking at this guy, he's only got one gripping hand, and he's got his gun there, and there's no kind of peg holes in the back for a backpack or anything like that, so I'm pretty sure he's just missing his hat, but he's in nice condition. I got a nice price on him, so he'll display nicely with the other Bucky O'Hare figures. And then the hallmark of a great toy fair is if I can bring home some new vintage Turtles figures for the collection. I was stoked to be able to find a couple Turtles figures that I needed from Tony B. First up, we've got a Storage Shell Raph. Now, in my most recent TMNT vintage action figure haul, I shared some additions to my collection in the Storage Shells wave. I got a near complete Storage Shell Donnie and also just a loose incomplete Storage Shell Leo. Now we've got Raph, no accessories but nice condition. We've got he hasn't lost his shell, thankfully. I really like these figures. I like this series of turtles. They might be my favorites. The face sculpts are awesome. I like the kind of ingenuity of the action feature here. Oh, bonus, he's got his stars. How good's that? I feel like with these Storage Shell turtles, one of the key things that are missing are usually the stars. So Raph's got 2 stars in the back of his shell there. That's awesome. And then to go with my Storage Shell Raph, my Donnie, and my Leo, we've got a near complete Storage Shell Mikey here. Again, nice condition. Love the color-coded belts that go with these Storage Shell turtles. His Storage Shell's intact, no weapons in there, but I've got his accessories. So Storage Shell Mikey comes with 2 chucks. So we've got his 2 primary weapons. We've got this accessory here, which I have no idea what it is, but it's still pretty cool. We've got this hook accessory. We've got his pizza, just like all the Storage Shell turtles came with. No stars. That's the only thing Storage Shell Mikey's missing. That's the only thing my Storage Shell Donnie's missing. But my Raph has some bonus stars there, so that's awesome. So I've now got all 4 Storage Shell turtles. Just need a few accessories to complete those, so that's great. And last of all, to bring us home, it wouldn't be a Scott Crusher Collector Con toy hunt without a little bit of involvement from the legends from Keep On Collecting. And I bumped into Andrew from Keep On Collecting. Unfortunately, his mate Matt wasn't able to make it, but it was awesome to see Andrew, and Andrew always looks after me. He's such a cool guy, and when I bumped into him, he'd already picked up something for me. He'd already been thinking on me, which I really appreciate. And we've got one of these Land Before Time Pizza Hut hand puppets here. I can't remember this guy's name. Is it Littlefoot? I'm not too sure. I've already got this guy, but my Pizza Hut Land Before Time puppets are in really rough shape. This is a definite upgrade, so this guy will definitely go on display with the others up there. And just Andrew, thanks so much for that, mate. I really appreciate you. You're a top bloke. You always think of me, and you know, I wish you all the best, and I hope to see you soon. So thanks very much for that, Andrew. You're appreciated. Alrighty, so that's it for the pickups. Definitely a successful Collector Con as far as additions to the collection, but also a really successful Collector Con in terms of the community element that I love so much when I go and check out events like this. And it's something that I really missed during the various lockdowns that we've had and the times when events like Collector Con have been suspended. Great vibe at Collector Con, like I mentioned, awesome vendors, but also awesome collectors just like me wandering around. Had some great chats with some new faces and some familiar faces. Met a guy named Dean, friend of the channel, who came up and said g'day, which was awesome. And Dean's a legend. He collects a lot of the same stuff that I collect. He had a really successful day as well. Dean picked up a King Lionheart vintage TMNT figure, which is a really rare figure. I've never seen it in the flesh. It doesn't come up too often on eBay or in Facebook groups. He found it in a $2 bin. Granted, no accessories, but a really nice condition figure with the cape in a $2 bin. That's an absolute score. And Dean collects a lot of the same stuff I collected. It was really good chatting with him. He showed me some of the things he picked up, and it's a lot of the same toy lines that I'm collecting. Shared a couple of funny stories about items that I've picked up at previous Collector Cons that I've shared in these videos that he had in his hands prior to me, and he thought, oh no, I won't pick this up yet, and I've come along and scooped it up. So it was awesome to chat with Dean. Hope to see you at another event soon, my man. And who else did we meet? I chatted with the guys from the YouTube channel Toy Real. Definitely go check out Toy Real on YouTube, especially if you collect modern action figures, modern collectibles, as well as your vintage stuff. They've got a great YouTube channel. It was really good to meet those guys. So that was cool. Who else? We met Shane Co. Shane Co from Shane Co HD, another YouTube channel that I really like to support. Go check out Shane Co. He's a Simpsons collector, collects Funko Pops, Fortnite stuff, all different modern collectibles. Shane's awesome. I've chatted with him through YouTube for quite a while now. So it was good to meet Shane in person, and also met another friend of the channel, Sam, who's a vendor there, and Sam's mum. They said g'day. They told me they've been watching my videos, so it's really cool to hear that. I mean, I make these videos because they're fun. You know, it's fun for me to just get on here and spend 20 minutes talking about what I'm picking up or what I'm passionate about. If other people enjoy that, then that's just even better. That's just the cherry on top. So, you know, really cool to meet those guys. And just as far as the community element, the organizers of the show and the vendors are very community oriented. There's a guy named Ben who I met at the Hurstville Toy Fair a week or two ago. He introduced himself to me. I've definitely bought stuff from Ben in the past, but I hadn't actually kind of introduced myself and had a chat. He mentioned that he'd seen my videos through Matt and Andrew from Keep On Collecting because he'd been following them. So, and you might have noticed in the footage from the show that I shared, he had like a full run. I believe it's a full run. I'm not a Star Wars guy, but he had like almost a complete run, 93 vintage Star Wars figures on a custom yellow tiered display stand, which was beautiful. He was selling all those figures, and some of the proceeds were going to a local charity or a local community group in Penrith, and whatever Ben donated was being matched by the organisers of the show. So love to see that sort of stuff. Kudos to Ben and to the organisers for that, and just kudos for putting on an awesome show. Looking forward to the next one. I don't have to wait too long, thankfully. The next one's in May, so I'm already looking forward to that. But that's it. I'm going to wrap it up for now. I'm pretty knackered. Looking forward to just sitting on the couch and enjoying the rest of my Sunday afternoon. Hope you have a great day. Thanks so much for watching as always. Hit me in the comments. Let me know if you were at Collector Con. And until next time, thanks again for watching, and cheers.